Father who art in heaven, hallowed be.
People were praying as deadly storms pounded the Midwest.
Oh my God, this thing is huge.
Ferocious weather fueled by record high temperatures. The worst of the damage in Illinois.
I'm Casey Nolan in New Minden, Illinois, where a tornado destroyed several homes and claimed 2 lives. But there are also stories of survival here.
I'm Elizabeth Matthews in Fayetteville, Illinois, where the power is slowly coming back on, but this town is littered with broken trees and downed power lines.
Sheets of water, hail, and wind hit downtown St. Louis, blowing over an 18-wheeler on the Poplar Street Bridge. And there was more damage to the west.
I'm Stephanie Diffin in Wentzville. Tonight, the damage the storms left behind in St. Charles County, including at this primary school.
I'm News Channel 5 meteorologist Mike Roberts in the First Alert Weather Center. The survey crews aren't done yet, but we know a lot more about the path tornadoes took across our share of Illinois on Sunday.
Tonight, we have team coverage of the Sunday storm.
You're watching News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
Good evening. A fast-moving storm system triggered multiple tornadoes across the Midwest, making this a deadly and destructive day. 67 tornadoes were reported in 5 states on the 17th of November, including Missouri and Illinois. In fact, Illinois was the hardest hit. Storms there claimed the lives of 6 people. We have team coverage tonight. We have 2 crews in Illinois, another in St. Charles County in Missouri. Let's begin with Casey Nolan, who is in one of the hardest hit areas, the town of New Minden in Washington County, about an hour east of St. Louis. Casey?
And Mike, a tornado killed 2 people here in New Minden, and it took the homes and farms of several more. Any calm that might have come after the storm couldn't last long.
People could stay in their houses and not do anything, but we don't. We're out there trying to help.
Sunday, a tiny town of 250 took a direct hit from a massive EF4 tornado. Wind speeds ranging from 166 to 200 miles per hour.
If it had been a heavily populated area, it could have been much worse.
In and around New Minden, Illinois, Sunday's tornado wiped away several homes, flattened acres of 6-foot-tall corn stalks, and claimed the lives of an elderly man and his sister when firefighters say the twister collapsed their home on top of them.
I got lucky, very fortunate.
Just a few hundred yards away, firefighter Mike Windler's home almost did the same to him. He says just as the call for help went out over the radio, the tornado was over his house. But he says all that was lost can be replaced.
We'll start over. It's basically what it is. It's just tough.
The Lord's timing is good. People had just left the building about 10 minutes before.
The pastor of St. John's Lutheran Church says in the building's more than 100-year history, New Minden has already rebuilt it twice after tornadoes.
Lord willing, we'll be able to rebuild again, but we'll see how it goes.
A town that after this tornado, where everybody knows just about everybody, will need help recovering.
Maybe just, pray for us.
Sometimes after a storm like this, you might see insulation everywhere. Well, in a farming community like this, you've got corn stalks that have been blown everywhere and litter this entire town. We have another injury to report not too far from here off the interstate. A truck driver was hurt when his truck was blown over. And another story of survival in one of these hardest hit homes. A 102-year-old woman rode out the storm and walked out, we're told, with barely a scratch. Live in New Minden, Casey Nolan, News Channel 5.
We have new video tonight of the damage near Centralia, Illinois. Our crews found significant damage to homes on Noltings Road. Fortunately, the people who live here weren't home at the time that the storm hit, but they came home to a mess that will take a long time to clean up.
Tornado come through, took the roof off of the garage. A lot of stuff gone out of the garage we can't find. We had a front porch on the house. It's completely gone. Furniture is on the front porch. We found 1 chair so far.
The storm also caused widespread damage near Fayetteville, Illinois. They were hit hard by high winds and heavy rain, and tonight residents there are dealing with uprooted trees and torn off roofs. News Channel 5's Elizabeth Matthews joins us live from that small St. Clair County town about 35 miles southwest of St. Louis. Liz?
Mike, the damage is scattered throughout this town. Trees are down, power lines are down, but tonight I want to start with some incredible video. This video was sent into our newsroom earlier this afternoon via email. Check it out. It's a video of a tornado near the tiny town of St. Rose.
Wow, look at that.
Those capturing this tornado tell us they were about 1.5 miles from it, watching as it twisted through the country, eventually making its way close to the village of St. Rose, damaging a few homes in its path. 35 miles to the southwest, Fayetteville residents were already starting to clean up from another storm that hit there earlier in the day on Sunday. Residents say it didn't last long, but long enough to do damage.
Then the wind came up and it hit the window so hard that you couldn't see out the window. And the next thing I know, I saw chairs flying, and I hollered and told everybody, let's run to the bathroom. About the time we got in the bathroom, boom.
That boom was the neighbor's roof peeling off and smacking Steve Bohannon's garage, leaving the remnants in his front yard.
It was scary there for a while, and came out and opened the garage door, and water was pouring like a waterfall in there. But we're okay. We just did the garage.
Just down the street from Steve, another roof was picked at and a tree was pulled up out of the ground. Just up the street from Steve, a semi-trailer looking more like a child's toy simply tipped over, a victim of the strong winds. Just hours after the storm blew through, folks in Fayetteville were already cleaning up.
I'm very proud of the people in this town. I can't say enough for these people in this town. They've always banded together when it comes time for someone's need.
Now, we're still unsure the damage caused here in Fayetteville, if it was a tornado or just straight line winds. We'll be sure to check with Mike Roberts on that and get the latest on that. In just about 30 minutes, I have some good news for the folks here in Fayetteville. I will tell you who is coming to their rescue tomorrow. Reporting live tonight, Elizabeth Matthews, News Channel 5.
Just to give you a better idea of what people were dealing with today, as Elizabeth showed you, check out this funnel cloud. Viewer Gerald Lubers captured with his cell phone. He spotted it on Stolleytown Road, just north of Breeze, Illinois. That was around noon. Now, in St. Charles County, residents are reporting hail and wind damage. And in Wentzville, the storm caused damage to a primary school. News Channel 5's Stephanie Diffin was in Wentzville just after the storm blew through. Steph?
So, Mike, this type of small debris is still scattered around the back of the school here. This large piece of debris is actually part of the roof. It was hanging off the top of the building when we were here earlier today. Now, as you can see, it's come down. And the storm that did this damage also made for a couple of frightening hours for people in this area.
All of a sudden, we heard the cops.
This is Martin Reddick's first day home with his newborn baby, and it was more eventful than he could have ever imagined. Could you tell that it was going to be serious?
Yes, especially when it was coming through the house, when I opened up the back door.
Martin says he was sitting in his living room when he started hearing the hail and wind, so he went to check out the situation from his backyard. When he opened the door,
sticks, limbs, and lots of leaves.
Actually coming into your house?
Yes, so I shut it real fast, and then looked out the front and saw the damage out at the school.
Across the street, the storm had blown part of the roof off of Heritage Primary School, causing a portion of the HVAC system to blow over.
In terms of the damage itself, it's much worse on the outside than it is on the inside.
The superintendent got the call shortly after it happened and rushed over to the school.
We're going to be as proactive as we possibly can be and make sure that our students, our staff, everyone's as safe as possibly can be.
The wind also made for a busy day for electric crews with power lines down across St. Charles County, and there were reports of some hail damage. And seeing what happened just across the street from his home, Martin says he's just glad it wasn't worse.
I haven't experienced anything like this before.
So this school will be open tomorrow. The district says that it will have to move some students to other rooms just so crews can make repairs. But other than that, it really should be pretty much business as usual tomorrow. Mike?
Stephanie, thanks. Now, when the storm hit downtown St. Louis, it came in fast and furious. Sheets of rain, hail, and heavy wind tore through the streets of the city. And this is how it looked near Walnut and 10th, facing the Eagleton Courthouse. This same wave knocked down trees and power lines throughout the city. And this will give you a good idea of the force of this storm. Carl Lund sent us this photo. A tractor trailer flipped over in the eastbound lanes on the Poplar Street Bridge. Fuel spilled all over the roadway. Crews had to shut down the bridge for hours. The bridge then did reopen. One person was rushed to the hospital. A man was injured while trying to take cover from the storm at the Metrolink Stadium platform. When the wind and rain hit, the fence he was leaning against fell onto the tracks. The man was injured in the fall, taken for treatment. No word yet on the extent of those injuries. The damage was extensive at 14th and Sullivan in North St. Louis. This is just a few blocks from I-70, not far from Confluence Academy. A building collapsed and 3 cars that were parked on the curb were badly mangled. And there was wind damage in the 3000 block of James Cool Papa Bell. The roof was blown off an occupied home, and 3 children were taken to the hospital for treatment. Cool Papa Bell, the Baseball Hall of Famer, used to live here, and civil rights leader Norman Say lives next door. He was not injured. And this is what it looked like on Market Street in downtown St. Louis after that storm moved through. St. Louis Fire Department responded to 200 calls in just 3 hours, many coming from the southwest part of the city and Soulard. The good news, only minor injuries were reported, but there still could be danger out there.
As you're cleaning up from the storm debris, there could be wires underneath the debris, underneath the leaves, so be very mindful of that. Be very careful of the wires. If you see one down, call 911 and we'll get somebody out right away.
If you live in the city and need to report minor storm damage like a downed tree, you're asked to call the Citizens Service Bureau at 622-4800, 622-4800. So what exactly happened today? Mike Roberts is here to break it all down. Mike?
It's overwhelming almost, Mike, how much different kinds of damage there was, but most of the worst was related to wind. I want to show you what we've had. We had 3 reports of large hail, 1 inch in diameter or bigger than that. 27 reports of at least 50-mile-an-hour winds, but 6 at or above 60, and 3 reports of 70-mile-an-hour winds or stronger. 3 wall clouds, 3 reports of funnel clouds, and 6 reports of tornadoes. And you'll note the tornado reports all come from the Illinois side, as do the wall clouds. And the areas that we're looking at first and foremost, at least the National Weather Service is, the northern portion of Washington County. Now, they looked at that area, did get that confirmation of an EF4 tornado, 166-mile-an-hour winds or stronger, just west of New Maiden. Tomorrow, they're going to look at 2 more areas, the northeastern portion of Washington County into southwestern Marion, around Centralia, and from St. Rose up into the southern portion, the southwestern portion of Fayette County. Let's watch these echoes. They are amazing, and you'll see a very strong echo from just east of Fayetteville right around noon to Oakville, and then the second line to the north, that's where we may have had a tornado from St. Rose into the southern portion of Fayette County. Now this huge system is long to the east of us, causing bad weather for our friends in the eastern Ohio Valley into the northeast. For us, what's left behind, a pretty cool night, Mike, and some pretty breezy west-northwest winds. We'll have a low of around 40 at sunrise. I'll have details about the work week in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, we'll see you then. The storm has left thousands in the dark. This is how dangerous it was in some parts of the viewing area as live power lines were popping. This is in Fayetteville, Illinois. The wind snapped trees and power poles all over the region. Right now, about 13,000 Ameren, Missouri customers are without power, and the outages are pretty widespread. In Illinois, about 3,500 customers have no electricity, mainly in Collinsville, Freeburg, Muscuda, and Alton. Crews are working around the clock, and they hope to have the power restored to everyone by tomorrow night. Stay with News Channel 5 and KSDK.com for the latest on the weather. We'll bring you any developments on air, online, and on your mobile device. Neighborhoods in one Illinois town are gone tonight. Coming up, one man's harrowing tale as his home came crashing in around him. And fire wipes out a Lincoln County strip mall. This is a late edition of News Channel 5 at 10.
But I hope no one's hurt.
News Channel 5 now has video of that tornado that took aim at Washington, Illinois, near Peoria. It was shot by a man hiding in the basement of his home with other people, praying for his life and watching the twister tearing up his neighbors' homes. And this is the damage left behind. At least 1 person is dead, more than 30 others injured. Many buildings have been reduced to rubble in the town of about 15,000 people. One man was inside his home when the storm hit. He describes what happened next.
I was eating a little bit of lunch, carried it with me downstairs, went around the corner, inside wall on a stairwell, and within less than a minute, everything started collapsing inside the house.
3 more deaths reported in Massac County in far southern Illinois. The town of Brookport was hit especially hard. Several people were trapped in their homes. Police officers and K-9 units are searching the area. Roads entering the city have been closed due to debris and downed power lines. Wild weather in Chicago forced a delay and mandatory evacuation of Soldier Field. It happened during today's matchup between the Bears and Ravens. Dark skies loomed over the field for most of the first quarter, and fans were asked to steer clear and move into the stands, get out of the stands and move into the pavilion area. Heavy rains and lightning sent the teams back to the locker room. More than 60,000 fans took shelter in the Soldier Field concourse before the game would resume. Severe weather also hit the Indianapolis area hard today. The National Weather Service confirmed a tornado touched down in Lebanon. High winds pushed a parked car onto its side. That's nothing compared to the Starbucks the car parked near. The front of the cafe was blown out, heavily damaged. Despite all the damage, no one was hurt. It's not clear if weather was to blame for a massive fire at a strip mall in Troy, Missouri. The fire started this afternoon on Professional Parkway. At least 3 businesses are damaged: Finkling Eye Care, Edward Jones, and BBI. No reports of any injuries, but crews from Lincoln County, Wright City, Wentzville, and O'Fallon helped put out the fast-moving fire.
If part of the roof collapses, as it did here, then that wind can really enter the attic and help it spread throughout the roof structure, which is exactly what happened in this case.
The cause of the fire is under investigation. He may have the most loyal customers in the hairstyling business, the barber who makes house calls. Later this hour, how one man is making a difference, one shave and haircut at a time.
Well, Mike, you know, we had just about everything today, but heavy rainfall, believe it or not. It came down in buckets for brief periods of time. It's done in downtown St. Louis now, though, where we had just 0.2 of an inch. Lambert had just a trace. It's going to be awfully cool and breezy tonight. Your forecast after the break.
Mike Roberts has been saying for days this could be the fuel for something bad, these record high temperatures, and we did hit a record high today.
We had a high of 80 degrees. You would think that would be a good thing, but I think if you've lived in this part of the Midwest for any length of time, you know when it's that warm, that early, this late into November, that actually is a bad thing. And as it turns out, those warm temperatures did indeed fuel fire for us. That was translated into thunderstorms. Look at this time lapse, Mike, that was sent to us from a viewer. This is Howard Berg's own video. He shot this from Deal Farm, which is just west of Highway 55 in St. Louis County. Pretty ominous stuff, and I want to take you back because I kind of scooted, I think, a little too fast through the time lapse of the storms as they made their way from eastern St. Clair County into Oakville and then New Minden. So I want you to look really closely east of Fayetteville. We did not have a report of a tornado there. The Weather Service is examining that portion of one of 3 paths, actually. But there's Fayetteville. This is at about 11:30. These storms were just hurtling to the east at 60 to 70 miles an hour. And watch this echo ramp up as it goes toward New Minden. That is a very strong signature. And that's why I think we're going to find out that we had confirmation that's going to be proved true from the northern portion of Washington County. You have a second path that the Weather Service will look at from northeastern Washington County over towards Centralia. While that's happening, another track to the north from St. Rose in the northern portion of Clinton County, northwestern Clinton County. We're going to look at that tomorrow with the National Weather Service, and they're going to examine whether that was a tornado. Either way, we also had a lot of strong winds. How did all this happen? The jet stream pattern that we had this morning was bringing in very cool air from the west-southwest. At the surface, southerly winds. So when these storms fired up, we had updrafts that wanted to rotate, and all the reason that we needed for those updrafts to be fueled was what we had in the way of those warm temperatures. So there again, you see these storms making their way through eastern St. Clair County and really ramping up from that point in their journey to the east. It's been a rough night for the areas east of us in the eastern Ohio Valley and into the northeastern United States. But for us, the better weather is just beginning to arrive. Winds will slow down quite a bit overnight and again tomorrow as high pressure pushes at us. But it's cool out there. Temperatures are in the mid-40s here, in the low 50s south and east, and we have some 30s up in Iowa. Lambert right now is still 51 degrees. Our record high, that was 80, and we had just a trace of precipitation officially. So it's going to be breezy overnight, but not nearly as windy as it was. An overnight low of around 40. Then tomorrow a high of around 55 degrees. And maybe a little on the breezy side again on Tuesday ahead of another weather system that will bring us showers and storms Wednesday and especially Thursday into Friday, Mike.
Okay, Mike, thanks. Coming up more on our top stories and the other news of the day, including the winner of the St. Louis Startup Week. Investigators are trying to figure out what caused a crash in North St. Louis County that left 2 people dead. It happened on northbound I-170 just north of Scudder Road around 6 this morning. Troopers say the car hit the median and flipped over. When our crews arrived, the wreck was clear, but you can see the damage to the guardrail. The driver, 27-year-old Nicholas Nelson, and the passenger, 38-year-old Ilana Rogers, were both killed. Investigators say a wrong-way driver caused a double fatal wreck in Franklin County. Troopers say 78-year-old Millard Mitchell was going the wrong direction on eastbound I-44. He slammed head-on into David Winter's car. Both men were rushed to nearby hospitals where they both died. Now to a developing story in Kirkwood where a water main break could affect your morning commute. Crews are working to repair the line at Clinton and Kirkwood at this hour, but they say it may not be fixed in time for the morning rush. The future of Ferguson-Florissant Superintendent Dr. Art McCoy is still unclear tonight. The Board of Education held a closed session today, but they have not announced any decision. McCoy was placed on administrative leave earlier this month. It's still not clear why. Saturday, McCoy's supporters came together at St. Mark Family Church in Delwood. Organizers want him to be reinstated immediately. While nothing is written in stone, the district says it may come to a decision tomorrow. St. Louis is in the midst of a startup explosion. This weekend, dozens of entrepreneurs put their best ideas on Front Street. It was all part of St. Louis Startup Weekend. For 54 hours, aspiring innovators got the chance to put their ideas to the test. A panel of judges decided who had the best one, and the winner is InvisibleGirlfriend.com. That's a website that allows singles to create the perfect virtual girlfriend to get friends and families off their backs. Our live team coverage of the storms continues after the break. And can anyone stop the red-hot blues? Perhaps so. Stay with us.